Hello everyone. Hi, I am Lauren Winzar, your decluttering and organizing coach, and this is the last episode of the first series of my podcast summer series. We called it I Know Just the Girl. This is a series that I put together after realizing that so many of my clients will start to declutter and go through the process of reorganizing their homes and their minds and find other areas that they know that they can now improve on. They see the possibilities in their life finally. And when they start to see these areas, they ask for advice. And I would prefer to send them to these awesome women that I have shared with you throughout this series. So to wrap things up, I thought I would share one last person with you. That is myself, me. If you need help with any sort of decluttering or organizing, I would recommend seeing me. You probably already know a bit about me. That's how you found this podcast series. But throughout the series, I was asking pretty much the same questions to each of the fantastic girls that that I had the pleasure of interviewing. And I thought I would do a last little wrap up and ask those same questions of myself. Might feel a little bit awkward, not really sure how that's going to go, but hopefully it flows well enough that I can answer those questions that I had my guests answer, and that will give you a little more insight into what I do and how I came to be where I am and why I do what I do. All the questions. So firstly, great big thank you for watching the series if you've already done so. If you haven't, it's all still there on the YouTube channel. Please feel free to watch in any order you like. Pick out the bits that you like the most, and please do leave comments and questions. I know myself and the other guests, all my guests, would love to hear from you. So don't be shy. Okay, so for me, I'm going to try. I'm not going to introduce myself too much. I am Lauren Winzar. I'm your decluttering and organizing coach. I coach people to declutter and organize. It's as simple as that, but is it that simple? So here I'll go asking myself those questions. Number one, tell us about yourself, what you do and why. Well, as I said, Lauren Winzar, decluttering and organizing coach. The why I do is the big story. So the way I usually tell it is that I've always loved things being organized, coordinated, a little bit matchy, or a lot matchy. And God, this is really awkward just laughing at myself, but I'm going to pretend that you're here with me. Please excuse my uncomfortable giggling. I've always loved things being organized. I've loved structure. I've loved patterns. I've loved, I was the girl in high school that would color coordinate her notebook with her highlighters, with her whatever else, and it was all color coordinated in my schedule. Same through uni. I liked reorganizing my room. I liked finding new and interesting ways to put things together so that they made sense to me and in the space I had. Organizing was always a big passion for me. The decluttering part really came into it 6-7 years ago, when my mother got really sick, and she had to move for health reasons to a different state to be closer to family, and a variety of reasons there. And there was a 3-bedroom house that she had been renting that needed to be cleared out. Some of it needed to be packed to go into storage for her, and some of it just needed to be gotten rid of. And I spent 2 weeks full-time, like 12 hours a day, clearing that out by myself, processing, going through every single item, trying to decide whether she kept it or it was going to the bin, or if it could be donated, if I wanted it. And of course she needed to be involved with this, but she wasn't actually there. So every question I asked, I had to ask of her as well. Anyway, it was a long and complicated and exhausting process. What I learned from that was how much emotion we hold in these items, and something that literally looked like rubbish to me, like actual rubbish, had been kept, had been chosen to be kept. Sometimes it had moved several times as she moved home, And each time, whether she realized it or not, there was a choice in that she kept it and took it with her. And to me, it looked like actual rubbish, but to her, there was a reason that she needed to keep it. And I'm sure even now that there are some things that people might find of mine that they think are not worth keeping, but for me, they're worth it. So that emotion that's involved really struck me. And of course, I knew that these things existed, like that we made these emotional connections to stuff, but it wasn't something I really paid attention to or acknowledged. And I don't think a lot of us do until you really start to get involved with your own decluttering journey. I might be getting off track here because I'm just talking to myself. I noticed this emotional connection to the stuff. I also noticed how many questions you have when you go through things. Even if they aren't your own, there's a lot of questions to be asked of the owner or of yourself if you're the one making the decision. And anyway, eventually we cleared out this house. A lot got sold, a lot got donated to local charities, but heaps stayed with her and went to storage, like heaps. And that, gave me a whole lot of new emotions that I won't get too far into. But when I came home, when I stopped, when the house was no longer an issue and I was back to, living my life, I had 2 very young children at the time. My husband had actually taken time off work so that I could process this house. And then I'd come back to the real world and I kind of had this itch, like there was something nagging at me. And I realized that everywhere I looked in my house, there was too much. Now, there have been people in my life who have called me a minimalist like it's an insult. I'm not a minimalist and I've never been what most people would consider a minimalist, but I didn't have a lot of stuff was the point. I didn't have excessive stuff. And so to look around the house and feel like it was cluttered, it was really bugging me. We had a shed built because we had to move some stuff out of the garage that I had taken from Mum's place that she didn't want that I did. And I ended up with a 3x3 meter shed in my backyard that we essentially built to store more stuff. And it hit me that that's a bit weird. I didn't need this stuff before. Why would I need it now? Why would I need more space just for stuff? And I know that I'm not alone in that. That is not an unusual turn of events. There are so many people in Australia and all over the world who pay for storage just to store more stuff that they're not actually using. Sometimes there's a valid reason to store stuff, but most of it is just stuff that they haven't decided to let go of yet. So I was in that boat. I had too much. I was paying for more stuff to be stored, and I was annoyed at how much was around me. So I started decluttering. Now, I didn't have specific support, like no one was against it. Nobody was fighting me on it necessarily, but I chipped at it and I slowly worked away. And eventually I got to a point where I felt like I didn't have any more to declutter in my house. But that itchy feeling was still there, that sort of nagging that I wanted to do more. And I loved the feeling of decluttering. It felt cathartic. Making those decisions and seeing the space clear out was clearing my mind and making me feel more relaxed. And I loved it. So that's the very long version of how I started doing this. I started on my own for myself, well, for my mother, and then for myself. And then friends would start to ask me about it. I would help them, and eventually they would recommend me to friends. And here I am, sharing it with as many people as I can possibly reach, because it really is, and I know it sounds cliche, but it really is life-changing. So that's my why. That's a big why. It literally is life-changing. The next question is, what is the biggest misconception about my work? So there are several. One would be that I'm a minimalist, which I'm not. Another would be that my house is perfect all the time, and therefore I expect other people to have perfect houses all the time. Both not true. Big old myths. My house is not perfect even right this second, but it is manageable and it is comfortable and I'm happy with it. There are some people who would think it's sparse, and there are some people who would think it cluttered. But it doesn't matter because I'm the one that lives here. And that's how I feel about everyone else's homes too. If you're happy with it, if you don't feel like there's too much there, you don't need me. If you're struggling, if you are unhappy on any level about your relationship with your stuff and your space, that's when you're looking for help. So yeah, that would be my biggest misconception in this industry, I think, is that we're after perfection, that we live in perfection and we're trying to create perfection for you. Perfection sounds excellent, but it's just not practical. I'm looking for practical, pretty, easy solutions. I guess that covers the misconception. There's so many, but that one always stands out to me. What would you tell a woman who is looking to find their life, to uncover their life and declutter? Find their organized side, I suppose I could say. I suppose the first thing I would say would be, hey, let's have a chat, because there's no one size fits all. I'm not here to say this is your first step and then you do this and then you do this. I won't say that as a generic to everyone, because what works for me might not work for you. What works for you might not work for the client I had yesterday. What works for the client I had yesterday definitely would not have worked for the client I had this morning. Different people work in different ways. Your home is different. Your family is different. Your responsibilities are different. Your budget is different. Your space is different. Like, it just, there's no one size fits all here. The questions that I ask you are going to be similar from client to client, but I guess what I would tell a woman who is looking to declutter this year would be, book a call with me. We'll have a chat and we'll see what your first step should be. Okay, that pretty much covers it. Where do you see your clients struggle the most with clutter? Literally everywhere. Clutter is not just about having too many coffee mugs or not being able to find the paper on your desk. Those things are part of it, but that's not all it is. Sometimes clutter is too many things to do, like your calendar is too full for your liking, juggling too many responsibilities, just not saying no enough is clutter. Basically, anything that is standing in between you and the life you want is clutter. If it's not contributing to the life you want, it's clutter. And that is anything from physical objects to other people, to expectations that you have on yourself or from other people. It can be your job sometimes. Some clutter is easier to get rid of than others, but they have common processes, shall we say. So I see my clients struggle with clutter everywhere. Most people will come to me because they're struggling with physical clutter, as in there's too much stuff in this room and I need help getting rid of it. What I find though is that most people have at least some degree of emotional or mental clutter. Too much happening up here and we don't see it until it's physical. Two more questions. Second last one. Do you consider yourself naturally organized? No. No, I do not. I do not consider myself naturally organized. I love organizing, but I love organizing because it keeps me organized. I don't just wake up in the morning and know exactly what's happening and where it's happening and what I'm going to wear. And that stuff doesn't happen like breathing. It happens through habits, so it feels like it's happening like breathing. But I had to train myself to get to those habits. And I still use strategies and techniques that I've developed along the way to support those habits. I'm not a naturally organized person, and I honestly am not sure that anyone is completely 100% naturally organized. Most people who appear organized or who even feel like they're naturally organized have just been really lucky to be taught or to have found the right strategies early on, that they didn't have to work very hard to set those things in motion. Some people might have an excellent memory and that might look like naturally organized, but you can remember 1,000 things and still be late. You can be late for every single appointment of your life, but still have all the information that you need well organized. There are different types of organized, and there's no perfect way. And I really don't think that any of them are naturally organized. It's just a matter of finding the strategies and building the habits that work for you. So that's good news. It means you can become more organized if that's what you want. And lastly, do you have a favorite decluttering tip? I don't. I do not have a favorite decluttering tip because there is no one thing that will work for everybody. There are lots of good places to start. There are lots of good places that will make a big difference, but the tip I want to give you will be different depending on the type of clutter you're struggling with. One that comes up a lot and does suit a lot of people who are dealing with physical clutter is the donate box. I have recommended this on other people's podcasts. I believe Serena mentioned it in her video interview with me in this series. Basically, have a spot in your home, maybe in your car boot, in the garage. Mine is near my front door. That is a permanent spot that everyone in your family knows is where donations go. That sentence did not flow very well. For example, a cardboard box. You might have a delivery box from all the many, many, many online deliveries we get. Have a cardboard box, and everyone in the house knows that that cardboard box is in that spot and exactly why that box is there. That box is there for anything you want to declutter. If my daughter has grown out of a t-shirt, she goes to put it on in the morning, it's a little bit snug, and I'll tell her, take it off and put it in the donate box. Done. I don't have to think about it again. If they've got a new toy for their birthday, or they've got a new book or whatever, and they need to go and swap it out because they don't have room for more than they've got, they'll put the new book on the shelf, they'll take an old book out, the old book, they'll check if anyone else in the family wants it, and then it goes in the donate box. It's going to look different in everyone's home, but that is a really good place to start if physical clutter is your biggest hurdle right now. So I don't want to call it my favorite tip, but it's a good place for most people to start. If that one doesn't sit right with you, or if that's not the type of clutter you're struggling with, you need to book a call with me. So that brings me to the end. I hope that you got something valuable out of this and I didn't ramble too much. You can find me on this YouTube channel where you've already got me. My website is just laurenwinzar.com.au. It's LAURENWINZAR. My Facebook page, I will have links below for my Facebook page, my Instagram. Basically, if you search my name, you'll find me. And there are always ways to chat with me through those social medias and my email, and of course through this one on YouTube. So if you'd like to book a call to have a chat, or if you have any questions, just shoot me a message, leave a comment here, and I will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much to everyone who has watched this series. If you watched one video or all 9, this is number 9. Thank you. I really appreciate your attention and the opportunity to share this information and these beautiful, amazing women with you. I want to thank everyone who was a part of this, and I was going to say all your names, but I haven't written them down, and I know you all, but I'm so bad with names, I don't want to accidentally say the wrong one. So thank you to all 8 of you wonderful, wonderful women. I am so proud to have had this opportunity to share you with my audience. And I've had such a good response, and other women who I would have loved to have interviewed but didn't have the time to structure it into this particular series. I am sure that there is enough always for more. So if you would like to see more of this sort of thing, let me know. Hopefully I'll see you for series 2 sometime in the not too distant future. Thanks everyone.